Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
Today I'm interviewing a ranger with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service about an exciting opportunity for work campers on Long Island in New York. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News. Much more than just a job listing website, when you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. A Workamper membership opens the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then a membership is for you. Join today at www.workcamper.com. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. Marie Chapman works for the National Wildlife Refuge System, which has 10 units scattered across Long Island, 5 of which are open to the public. Together, the properties encompass 6,800 acres. The beautiful thing about Long Island is that it's 45 miles from the largest city in America, New York City, yet it's filled with beautiful scenery and surrounded by water. Anne is looking for several volunteers to serve a minimum of 3 months, preserving the habitats of endangered wildlife and protecting some endangered plants. In fact, work campers take part in an annual plant count to help rangers keep abreast of all the things growing on Long Island. The work takes place at the Elizabeth Morton Refuge, which is located in the prestigious Hamptons area, as well as the Wertheim National Wildlife Refuge, which is located on the wild and scenic Carmens River. To tell us more about this volunteer opportunity and what it will involve, please welcome to the show Marie Chapman, the Visitor Services Manager for the Long Island National Wildlife Refuge Complex. Thanks for joining me today, Marie. I really appreciate it. So tell me, where in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service do you work?
Great. Happy to be here. I work on Long Island, New York for the National Wildlife Refuge System. We manage 10 National Wildlife units across all of Long Island. Together, they encompass about the 800 acres, and 5 of these units are open to the public. So they offer anything from hiking trails, bathrooms, informational, wayside, exhibits, brochures, portfolio of all sorts of public offerings, including a very hefty, robust volunteer program.
Wonderful. What happens with the other 5 units that are not open?
Those are closed to the public to preserve the safety and the integrity of habitat, endangered wildlife, endangered plants. We've just decided that those areas are just too sensitive to withstand public interaction or impact. And so those units are closed. Some of it is a safety hazard. One of our units is actually an island that was a former bombing range used by the U.S. Navy. So we actually have loaded ordnance still present on the island. And obviously we don't want visitors walking around there. So.
Exactly. Are work campers involved in working on those closed units as well as the open ones, or do you just confine the work campers to the public areas?
Most of it is the public areas. We do have opportunities that arise, though, that are very special and afford the volunteers a little bit more access than the average public person. For example, one of our units is the Sayville National Wildlife Refuge, which preserves and protects the largest population of an endangered wildflower that's indigenous to grassland areas. And every year, the biologists mount huge census undertaking of the plants, and they basically get everybody on board who's available, and the volunteers are usually excited to go and help with the plant count. So that's an opportunity that they have to see something that the public doesn't.
That's pretty cool and rather unique, a nice little perk. So what types of jobs do work campers do for you folks?
I should preface by saying we only have 2 work camper spots on Long Island, one at the Elizabeth Morton Refuge, which is nested in the Hamptons, a very prestigious known area. And the other spot is at our Wertheim National Wildlife Refuge, which is located on the state designated wild scenic Carmen's River. So both spots really have kind of their own little niche. But for the most part, it's a variety of light maintenance activities, visitor outreach and education, sometimes field trips for school kids that come out to explore the refuges. But it's a mix of those types of things.
How many work campers are you looking to hire? Is it just one at each one of those locations?
Yes.
Okay.
Here it's one. Sometimes we double up because depending on people's availability, we might have one work camper who's only available, say, April through June. And then, book somebody from June to October. We tend to avoid the winter months just because of the heightened maintenance needs that go with freezing water pipes and that sort of thing. But we try to fill about April through October, November.
Okay. Is the work camper committing for the entire time, or do you split it up because it is a volunteer?
But we can split it up. Some do, but we can split it up. Depends on what people's availability. We try to cover as much as we can.
How many hours a week are they expected to put in?
For couples, we ask that each individual contribute 24 hours per week. And for a single work camper, we ask for 32.
Okay, so you do take solos.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Would you consider a family for this opportunity?
Perhaps. It would depend. Sometimes there's extenuating circumstances. We don't want to get into a situation where we have underage dependents that are not supervised during the day or that sort of thing. We do hold a strong line on no pets, though, or no outdoor pets. Folks that have an indoor cat, say, are fine. But all of our refuges, because of the sensitive nature of the wildlife and the habitat, prohibit the public from bringing pets onto the refuge. And so we just don't want to set a double standard where we're allowing our volunteers to bring their pets. And then
it sure does. Some work campers travel with older teenagers. Would that work for you? Okay, so they would be able to volunteer too?
Yeah, put to work. Yeah, we entertain volunteers of all ages. Can't even tell you how many teenagers come to us just from local communities looking for volunteer service hours or Eagle Scout projects. I mean, we really take volunteers of all ages.
And what are some of the jobs that they're going to be doing?
Like I said, a variety of light maintenance, mowing the grass, maintaining the trails, weed whacking around the benches. I'm sure you've heard that Long Island has a very known tick problem. So obviously we don't want to put our visitors at risk. So we like to keep the grass trimmed at a low level so that we're not encouraging. But cleaning bathrooms, emptying the trash, picking up litter, talking with visitors, sometimes leading programs. Sometimes we have work campers that have a sense of history of doing educational programs. Maybe they're retired teachers and they really want to get involved with that aspect of our programming. So it also depends on what their interests are, and we can definitely accommodate those.
Okay. It's all volunteer positions, so there's no pay, but does it come with an RV site or any other perk?
Yeah. So each of the two refuges that I mentioned have RV hookup. So it comes with water, septic, electric. We also make available like a washer and dryer, a private shed where they can store their a locked shed where they can store their items. So we pretty much try to accommodate as many of the utilities as we can.
Sounds like a rather lonely position that there's only one work camper at each one. So is it?
I wouldn't say lonely because both of these areas get a fair amount of traffic and both of the sites are literally located right on the trail. So you have people, visitors, obviously we're closed during the evening hours, but during the day you have folks walking by. Our headquarters is actually located at the Wertheim Refuge. So all of our staff is here. There's a high level of activity, and I wouldn't say it's lonely. They probably appreciate having the private time, but they go back. There's so much public interaction, that sort of thing.
What are the hours of operation for the center?
It differs between the two sites. The Elizabeth Morton Refuge is a little bit more rustic. There's not as much infrastructure there. So the work campers, they're pretty much set their own hours.
Okay.
So they'll typically open up we have a contact station. It's a watered down version of a typical visitor center. It's just like a one room cabin type of structure. And they typically open it from, say, Thursday through Sunday because we get most of our during the weekend hours. Now, the Wertheim Refuge, that's where our main visitor center is located. And that building is open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 4. Obviously, we don't ask the work campers to cover all of that, but they can help fill in where needed, that sort of thing.
It sounds like an opportunity for the work campers to set their own schedule, though. Is that correct?
There's a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of flexibility.
What traits or qualifications are you looking for in a work camper?
Obviously, comfort working with the public. So we want somebody who are comfortable speaking with the public, who can deliver high-level customer service, folks that are comfortable with, like I described before, the light maintenance, running a lawnmower, kind of troubleshooting on the fly, that sort of thing. But probably interacting with the public and having that customer service background, answering questions, answering the phone, all of that type of thing.
You had mentioned before that this would be a good opportunity for teachers.
Definitely at the Wertheim Refuge during the, I would say, April to June month. Mm-hmm. This last year, we hosted almost 1,000 school children. So they come out, I would say, twice a week from April through June. And it's another kind of all hands on deck sort of thing. And we offer a variety of programs, some indoor, some outdoor. But I do have local retired teachers who support that effort as well. And they always enjoy coming up with new programs to offer the school kids. And they really enjoy that aspect. It's a little less formal than the classroom, obviously, but it still has that educational component.
You had mentioned customer service as being the primary trait that you're looking for. Is there any cleaning involved, or do you folks have contractors doing that?
No, the Elizabeth Morton Refuge definitely has a higher need for that. So our work campers do clean the bathrooms there. Again, it's not, a large bathhouse by any means. It's a very small cabin structure. But they keep an eye on the bathroom for us. They also empty the trash, pick up litter. That type of thing happens here at Wertheim as well. But I would describe it as light maintenance duties. We do have contractors clean, like the visitor center, when the larger structure facility, I think it's 12,000 square feet. So we're not asking our work campers to do that, but more of the little.
Okay. Do the work campers need any special skills or training to be able to work for you?
We don't need any special training to get in the door, so to speak, but we do offer additional training if they're interested and as needed. For instance, we offer a UTV training so they can get a government certification on how to drive like ATVs and UTVs. One of our volunteers actually expressed an interest in getting chainsaw training. So we sent him out to get chainsaw certified so that when we have a tree come down on the trail and it needs to be cleared, he can suit up and do that. There's also MOCC training, which is like motorboat operator training that's available. So there's trainings that are available. And if a volunteer has an interest in getting some of those certifications, we can certainly support that.
That's a really neat opportunity. So is this a certification that they could use at other U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so if they go through the training for the UTVs, does that mean that they get to use one? Or is that
definitely
required to go through that training in order to use?
It's helpful. It's definitely helpful, especially when you're talking about Elizabeth Morton. There's a substantial amount of beach. So our interns and our volunteers use the UTV to access parts of the beach. Obviously, litter pickup on the trail is a lot easier if you're driving around in a UTV versus hiking the trail with a trash bag. Definitely helps facilitate a lot of the activity.
But the certification makes them much more valuable for future employers, I would imagine.
Some of these trainings, because they're federal, they also transcend federal agencies. So they could take their training here and use it for the National Park Service or say state parks, or a lot of our partner and sister agencies recognize those certifications as well.
That would be good to have. When do you begin recruiting?
I think it goes year round at this point because folks are planning so far in advance. But if we wait too long, we miss out on the candidate. I would say our recruitment goes year round, and it's primarily driven through, we try to kind of shift folks towards the volunteer.gov website, which is the government clearinghouse for volunteer positions. And there they can see a larger description of the positions. One of our former work campers also did a video, A Day in the Life of, where he takes folks through what a typical day looked like for him. So they can get a more enhanced look at what the position entails by going to that.
Okay. So you're recruiting year round, but they only need to be, the work campers only need to work from April to October and putting 24 hours in. So if they can't do the whole amount, they can commit to a specific amount of time.
We ask for a minimum of 3 months.
Okay.
Because
that's
to
good.
get somebody the background investigation, to get them the training, any needed certification, by the time we put in that investment, we don't want them to turn around and leave as soon as we get them up to speed. So we'd like to ask for about at least a 3 month.
That's reasonable. You had mentioned a background check is required. Is there anything else that you do in the interviewing or hiring process that work campers need to be aware of?
Not in the beginning. There's some forms that need to be filled out. There's an interview that takes place, but the initial onboarding is pretty cut and dry.
Okay. And what does that involve as a general rule? People have to fill out an application on volunteer.gov. Right. Is that right?
Okay. That's what initiates the process. And then I have a kind of a larger application that gives them the chance to tell a little bit more about themselves, give some references, get a sense of what their timetable looks like. And then based on that, then we proceed to an interview. Now, as we get closer to the actual start date, we'll start initiating the background check in order to be issued keys, because we do issue keys and codes and whatever they need to get into federal buildings. Because of that, they will need just a basic background check. If they work with children, they need another background check. If they're going to be using government computers, they need an enhanced background check. Depending on what their level of access is going to be, we'll initiate background check closer to the start.
Is a background check always conducted for every work camper that you have, or is it something that if they've worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service in the past, it carries forward to this job?
It may. Okay. If a previous station conducted a background check, they're usually good for 2 years.
Okay.
As long as there's not a significant break in service. So our folks at our HR and personnel department can look them up in the system and see if their background check is still valid, and we will.
Okay, that's good. What can a work camper do to really stand out if they want to work specifically for your agency?
Things that I look for in an applicant are a history of working with government agencies, especially a history of working with National Wildlife Refuge. It's always a plus, because the government is a whole different animal from the corporate world or from the business world, even from like state parks. We just have, each one kind of has their own subculture. So if folks are already familiar with the government subculture, and even better, the National Wildlife Refuge System subculture, that's definitely a plus, because we are a smaller agency. Our focus is on wildlife and habitat. Most folks are used to more of the recreational, the park, and that's not necessarily our focus. If a volunteer is already familiar with our mission and the way we do business, it's definitely a plus. But it's not a deal breaker if they're not, because everybody is trainable in my mind. But obviously, like I said before, working with the public, we don't want somebody who just wants to be squirreled away. So we want somebody who's comfortable working with the public, talking to the public, even working with difficult situations. We do have controversial policies, procedures here on Long Island. We close some public beaches during the summer for nesting birds. Sometimes that's very controversial with the public. We need somebody who's comfortable kind of communicating those messages, dealing with visitors who might not be happy about some of the things we do. Those are skills that you can't always train someone on. It comes with experience. So that if somebody can demonstrate that they've been in those positions or been in those situations before and they've excelled, it's definitely a plus.
That's good to note. A lot of people think of New York, or think of Long Island as being a suburb of New York. And it's not at all the case. It's a lot of wildlife and wide open spaces.
There is a lot of greenery here. It's really amazing to me. I think of it as the best kept secret on the East Coast. I've had a 25-year career as a park ranger. I've worked all over the country. And it's amazing to me that Long Island has saved as much of its open space as it has. I really think it was maybe ignored by the developers. When I look at places like the Beltway or Atlanta or other major metropolitan areas on the East Coast, there's no green left. And here on Long Island, really are blessed. So many state parks, county parks, national park, national seashore. We have so much here. And the refuge system that I work for has 6,800 acres. We have quite a bit of property that we're managing here on Long Island.
How far are you away from New York City?
So the Wertheim Refuge is 45 miles.
Okay. So about 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. With the driving, it is. But like I said in the beginning, we have 10 units. So one of them is only 20 minutes outside of Queens. So it really depends on what part of the island you are and where the refuge is. Some of our refuges are very close to the city, and others are like I mentioned, the Hamptons is very far from. So
people have to drive through New York City to get to the Long Island refuges. So is that correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
There are ferries that operate across Long Island Sound. There's one out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and there's one out of New London, Connecticut. And the ferry crossing takes a little over an hour. I've lived on Long Island for 9 years, so I've learned to navigate some of this. If you really want to avoid the city, you don't have to drive through it. You can take, and those are all vehicle ferries.
Okay.
And I've seen RVs, I've seen semis get onto those. I mean, it is possible.
What can people do when they're not working?
Wow, a lot. One of my former work campers actually helped me design a handbook for future work campers. And they put together an exhaust list of all of the. They came to Long Island with a mission to do as many of the things as they could. And they wrote up a how-to guide for everybody. They got onto cooking shows in the city. They navigated. I think they even sat in on the late night TV show with Jimmy Fallon or something. They did everything. And there's so much between the food scene, the art scene, the wineries that are out east, beach scene. I say Long Island has everything except mountains. That's really the only thing we're missing. We have recreational opportunities, horseback riding, kayak, camping. I could go on and on. There's just so much to do here. You would never be bored.
Okay. And if people wanted to, they can always get to New York and then take a train to other places like Philadelphia and Boston. It's relatively easy to do. And with the schedule the way it is, they can have several days off to go touring New England.
They could, but I don't know that they would want to leave. So much to do here between Metropolitan Museum of Art. Again, I could go on and so much.
Will you share that pamphlet or that to-do list?
Yeah, the handbook. It might even be on our volunteer.gov thing that I mentioned before, but I could definitely forward you a copy.
Okay. Or forward an applicant who is considering spending some time, a couple of months with you. Where can people get more information about the opportunity? It's at volunteer.gov and they have to search.
Volunteer.gov, and you can search for, I think you can search geographically. So you can find us by searching opportunities in New York, or if you wanted to get to our agency, it's the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Wertheim and Elizabeth Morton are the refuges that we have available.
Okay. And how do you spell Wertheim?
Excuse me, Wertheim.
Very good. Thank you for the time today, Anne-Marie. I really appreciate it. It sounds like a fun opportunity for somebody who can volunteer a couple of months. A great way to get into the New York area, that's for sure. And I can't imagine where else you could go to get a free RV site for 3 months in the middle of the summer that close to New York City.
Exactly.
So thank you again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I enjoyed talking with Marie Chapman, the Visitor Services Manager for the Long Island National Wildlife Refuge Complex. She dispelled a long-standing belief I held that Long Island was part of New York City. I could not have been more mistaken. Anne is looking for work campers to help at the refuge from April through October and even into November if the weather is still nice. If she could find one work camping couple or solo to help during the whole season, Anne would be delighted. However, if volunteers would like to stay just 3 months, she's happy to split the commitment. Couples are expected to put in about 24 hours per week per person. Solos are expected to work about 32 hours. The refuge does not allow outdoor pets, but animals like cats, which generally stay inside the RV, are welcome. The work campers are involved with maintaining trails, trimming grass, cleaning bathrooms, and picking up trash. However, they can also be involved in leading educational programs. That makes this an ideal job for a retired teacher. Work campers receive a free, full hookup RV site and have access to a storage shed as well as a washer and dryer. The primary trait Anne is looking for in work campers is the ability to provide great customer service. The agency offers training on how to use all-terrain vehicles and even motorboats. A former work camper created a handbook for other work campers to serve as a guide of all the activities they can do on their off time. It's easy to go horseback riding, kayaking, and camping. People can also hop a train to get into New York City, Boston, or even Washington, D.C. For more information, visit www.volunteer.gov and search for opportunities in New York, but enter Long Island as the keyword. People can submit applications right from that site. This is a great opportunity for people to combine big city life with wide-open natural resources. Today's episode was sponsored by Workamper News. Creating a resume can be a cumbersome, intimidating task, especially if you haven't written a resume in many years. The unique Workamper News Resume Builder takes you through a step-by-step process to build a complete resume with all the information Workamper employers are looking for when reviewing applications. Once complete, your resume can be emailed to anyone, and the software tracks when and to whom you've sent it. You can print out the resume or make it into a PDF which can be uploaded or emailed. Some employers never advertise, not on Workamper.com or anywhere else. They find all their applicants just by searching the Workamper News resume database. If you don't have a resume in the Workamper database, you'll be missing out on some great opportunities. To open the door to more work-camping jobs, become a Workamper member today by visiting www.workamper.com. That's all I have for this week's show. Next time I'll be talking with an employer who has an opportunity for people to work at a campground in West Virginia. The firm is also seeking a manager. I'll have more details on the next episode of The Workamper Show. Thank you for listening, and I hope you get to enjoy the spectacular fall colors and cooler weather.